This computer is hanging.
Is it okay on your side? Check on the platform. Okay.
No, this person is not good enough for me. Why did they put those among them amazing? It is too much. We should be amazing. How do I do it to that many people? To scale up payment. Why should we give up payment our name?
But participants never get to put it on Flavia,
no, I'm just asking for support. To scale in a mess. We are going to time.
Gentleman, I don't know why he doesn't keep here until what? Let him come here so that we can.
Meze munjijia. Unasitaka.
Lớp gì đấy đã? Bên áp từng giờ cũng gì
I don't want to say it.
But you didn't take a course, we are still chatting.
Hello. Testing 1 2.
3 minutes.
Testing 1 2.
5 minutes.
Testing. Hello. Testing. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
One, two, three. Okay.
Right. Sorry. Come on.
Good morning, team. Good morning to our online participants. Thank you for joining in. you, my physical participants, for this training. If you don't mind, let us have a brief introduction. For the sake of our online participants, today we shall use more of English. Robert, how many do you have so far? They are about 50, and they are from different walks of life, so we cannot be sure if they pick us in Uganda. So we shall use more of English. So I request that we quickly introduce ourselves, have a word of prayer, and then we start the training.
I'm Saranga Robina. I work as a credit officer at CBS Bills.
Good morning. I'm Agis Conrad. I work as a credit officer with CBS Bills. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Chizito Andrew Bakawa. I work as an ICT coordinator at CBS Bills and Sindikandake.
Yes, good morning. I'm called Samuel Peter, Sebili Mobilizer and Office.
Yes, good morning. I am called Gideon Bugonga. I work as a credit officer at CBS Voice and City Kandake.
Good morning. I'm Kaboza Sadam, Unity Coordinator Katabi.
I'm Christine Ayevale, credit officer at CBS Voice.
All right, thank you so much. And myself, I'm called Flavia Nakawiyewile, and I'll be taking you through today's session. To our online participants, we encourage that you use the chat so much for any comments, for any questions, clarifications. You can also use the chat to introduce yourselves. Drop in the chat what your names are as we proceed. From what you can see on the screen, this is the training of trainers in farm record keeping, which we are conducting today. We know that in our works as credit officers, we are always the trainers in the community. We are the people that touch base with the customers, and we always need to support them. Why farm record keeping? We want to do this, and our objective is to guide you, and for you to guide your customers, the people out there, on keeping the necessary records and apply them for making decisions in their farming enterprises. We are not saying that people are not making decisions today, but yes, they do make decisions, sometimes with a lot of errors, because they have no records to guide them. The specific objectives we want to address in this module, we want to introduce the participants to the concept of farm record keeping with the purpose of increasing their appreciation of capturing and maintaining good and accurate data. And please note, we are talking about good and accurate data. Some people have data in different forms, but it may not be accurate, it may not be good, and in this module we are going to see what makes data good. Then we want to also motivate the farmers to overcome mindset change, view and embrace farming as a business rather than as a way of life. We know that many of our clients get a living out of farming, but still many are yet to consider it as. So that mindset change can be achieved if we start with these baby steps through the farm record keeping guidance. We also want to sensitize and guide farmers on how to use these records to develop financial statements, to show the results of enterprises periodically. You know, some make records, but because they don't know how to use the records, naturally, you don't want to keep doing something that is not useful to you. So to guide them in making not complicated income statements, but simple statements which they can interpret and use. We also want to guide farmers on how to use these records to make appropriate farming decisions. So the issue is knowing how to make the record good and accurate, but also knowing how to interpret it and use it to guide your decision making. And we want to make it as simple as possible so that everyone can be able to do this. We also want to create a safe and conducive environment for the training for you. Now this is your information as trainers. Before we give this information, it is important to know when am I going to give this information to my clients. Do I wait when I'm going to recover and then I start saying, you're not paying because you have no records. Sit here and I show you how to do it. So it is important to have that conducive environment. And you know, for adults learn when they choose to learn, not so. Yeah, so I should have reason and prepare them. Then next week we shall have some kind of training. We shall talk about keeping records. Please carry a notebook, carry an exercise book. That way you're preparing them for learning, but don't just ambush them with the training. You also have to ensure that you have all the materials that you need. For instance, if you need stationery, depending on your audience, are they the kind that if I write, it will help them? There are those who may be put off when you write, because you know many people say, for us, Tetwa Soma, we cannot write. So what is it that I can use to demonstrate as I'm training them so that this information can sink into them? You have also to request their leaders to introduce the members by requesting each member of the group to introduce himself and their enterprises that they are doing. You also have to request the same leaders to conduct welcome note in a simple official opening. Now, this information seems very obvious, but it is very important because it determines the buy-in, whether I will be ready to take in the training. Sometimes you may say, I'm going to give you information, don't waste my time, please come. And we've done so many trainings, so what is he going to tell us that is new? But if you prepare me well, I will be very ready to do the training, the greeting and welcoming of participants, and telling them who you are, why you are there, and also you introduce the visitors if you have any. And in what instances could you have visitors? You may have your teaching method by coming with someone who will give them a story, or you can get these stories from within the members so that you get a buy-in, so that they know you're not one of the other trainers, because as adults they've gone through so many trainings that come to give them information. No, I want us to discuss about record keeping and your spelling out how it is important to them. So this will continue. You announce the topic, you tell them how long the training will take. For instance, today we want to spend 1.5 hours going through this training. It prepares them. Conduct the training in local language. At the beginning, you remember I mentioned that for the interest of our participants online, we shall use English because we don't know who is who, we don't know who speaks which local language. But as we are interacting with our members, with our customers, we normally use the local language. So make sure you speak to them in the language they are comfortable with, and then begin your delivery by soliciting a few expectations from them and quickly write them on a blank flip able to write. What are you expecting from this training? And they will give you their views. That way it gives you time, it gives you an opportunity to know what they think, to be able to also tell them, you're expecting this, that one you're not getting today. Today, we are simply going to talk about this. So that way of preparation, even before you give the content, will prepare these adults and make them very comfortable to listen to you. So in the farm record keeping, we have simple content that we want you to give them. What is farm records? Why is it important? What are categories of farm records for selected enterprises? Using farm records to generate farm income, track farm expenses, and generate farm results, and then finally making farm decisions. Depending on your audience, you may not be able to summarize all these in one meeting because adults do not have a lot of time. You may introduce what are records, maybe the importance of records. You may leave us some homework. The next time we come, members, please come with, share with us your experience with records, and then at the end of the day, they will have learned from within what they know. Farming, we know that involves the growing of crops and keeping of animals. What we call crops or livestock farming. And record keeping refers to capturing, categorizing, and maintaining farm production and farm financial records. Capturing, categorizing, and maintaining these records, which means there is some sort of order, some sort of arrangement that a farmer should know. There are some records that we've come across in different enterprises. Say someone is running a retail shop, and when you go to the shop and you're asking for what kind of records do you have, in most cases they have a single book for creditors, debts, and they are writing randomly and referring to, let me first remember the color of ink I used on that day, without necessarily putting the date. So that's capturing, categorizing, and maintaining. Then farm records can be described as information relating to farm management. So it is not only the financials, but all information relating to the farm management. It is the concept applicable to the entire farm operations. People should know that. And there are two distinct types of farm records, which are the production records and the financial records. When we talk of records and you're telling people to have a notebook, not this and that, the mind quickly goes to financials. But we need and have a lot of information that we need to be on record about our farm enterprises. So for the production records, these are items that relate to the quantities of the inputs and the levels of production, the size of the farm, for example, the crop yields, the plant population, the calves on the farm, the quantity of milk produced, equipment on the farm, inputs and all that is our production records. While for the financial records, they relate to primary money, those records that involve exchange of money, all the financial interactions, production sales, operating expenses, purchases, creditors, data stock, and so on and so forth. But if you realize between the two, you cannot have the financial records without their production records. So it is from the production records that you're able now to generate also the financials. And also the production records also allow you to have much more information For instance, when I'm recording and I'm focusing on money, I may not mention how big the size of my farm is, what kind of ownership. Is it Chibanja? Is it titled land? That is information that you need to have on record. So keeping track of records and documents has been a long-standing tradition in human society. So you realize that in the different living times, people have been keeping records in different styles. And for example, tying knots on a rope to determine the number of months in a year or farming seasons. We know that our great-grandfathers did this. And they could tell how old is my goat, how old is my cow, which season is this, without necessarily having where to write. So it is not something new, but for us we are living in better times and we have different ways of keeping records. So it can be accomplished through a number of ways. We have the basic hand record keeping and the elaborate computer systems. But what I want to say is that whatever system a farmer chooses to use, it should be easy to keep and should be able to provide necessary information and be able to provide the information needed. It should be easy. You find someone with a record book, but they are failing to pick information out of it because of the way they have made the records. But the record should be made in such a way that for you, you're making the record today. But always think about who will read this other than me. Will they still understand what I have written? So that is important. So farm record keeping entails being well organized and therefore being able to find facts at the time needed. And farming is a business like any other business, and therefore it demands accurate records, careful financial management. And what is amazing, even the other businesses where we would think people have records, when you move there closely, you will find that the records are still not proper. So it is an issue of mindset change. And as we continue, as we look at the importance of records, you will realize areas where even as entrepreneurs in different enterprises are facing challenges in taxation without records. And some people do not want to keep the record because they think the taxman will come for me. But if the taxman comes and I have a clear record, then I can tell whether I'm making losses or whether I'm making profits, and I can be levied a tax that is appropriate than when I don't have the records. So how important are you to think that I know everything, but encourage them to think about other than you on your farm. Who else is a stakeholder? Who else is a beneficiary? Can they access this information from you without you making any record, even in the event that you're not there? Then it aids tracking of investments on the farm, which enables comparisons. I think this is obvious. As you invest, you can compare. When I invest so much in this particular item, and when I invest in the other, where do I benefit more? Which one is more hectic? Which one gives quicker results? Which one will I have to wait longer? And if one knows that they are waiting longer, they also plan accordingly. A record is also a diagnostic tool that helps to determine the absolute and relative profitability of the farm. So many people have done farming, they are doing farming, their grandfathers did farming, but they continue doing it, as we said in the beginning, as a way of life, but not knowing whether they are making profit or not, and that some will even give reasons of not keeping records for fear of realizing that they are making losses. Okay. Then the financial indicator helps you to measure changes in the condition of the business. It helps you to plan forward, a forward planner, and it aids external financials on analysis for the viability of other parameters. As institutions that are lending, and we are lending to farmers, sometimes because we don't have elaborate products for farmers, we simply say we are lending for business. Or sometimes we say we are lending to farmers, but we appraise the businesses. Why? Because maybe we would have done it as institutions, but the people do not have the records. And that is what guides us in us making lending decisions. So it is very important for the financials, and as we are talking to them, if you make the record and I come for appraisal, I can tell how you've been performing. It can help guide me what amount of loan or what kind of support that you need. One of the major complaints that we get from customers is about requesting bigger volumes of loans and being given lower. And the question is, but I'm the one going to use the money. How do they know I won't be able to use it? But for us, we know that we are guided by records. You know, they can tell you, you know, for me, I've been doing maize. Last season, I did 20 acres. But what is the evidence that you did the 20 acres? No record at all. So it is very important that us as financials, we need it. And actually, one was wondering, but why should we be the ones giving this information to the farmers? Actually, we are preparing our market. And an informed consumer is the best customer. I think we know that. Also going forward, accurate record keeping information provides the basis for preparation of financial statements, which are used for analysis. Garbage in, garbage out. If the record is not good, and you're saying I'm using that to make a decision, the decision will not be good. Then it is a service tool to meet the legal requirements, the income tax, the tax. This issue of tax, everyone is trying to run away from tax. But if you're informed enough, you can be better off with knowing if you're making a loss, if you're making a profit, and how do I move from here. And these records can even advise on how you can better them, but also you get very much advised on how to handle. So those are some of the importances of keeping records, but I would also like to hear from you. Is there anything more? I know there are many more, but these could be given to your customers, but you can also add many more other results. I want to hear from you, my audience. Which other importance of records can you think of? Even the online audience, please, you can type in the chat.
There's a microphone here.
So thank you, Madam. Really, it is going to really an addition, but I just want to inquire something from you. But like we are pretty officers, how really, after I have looked at the available farm records, how do I really determine that the client that actually I'm appraising, the records that actually he's having is really garbage? How do I determine that the available farm records are ready.
Okay, I get you. So his question is, how does he really determine if the records he has is good record or if it is not good record? We already mentioned that a good record is that which can enable you make a decision, but it can also be quickly accessed and understood. But as we continue, we are going to have an example of how one can make a good record, simple record. For instance, income sheet, expenditure sheet, at the end of the season, how do I determine whether I have some profit or loss? So for you, that is what we'll do at. We'll guide you, and we shall share those key tips that we need to have in order for us to consider record being good. From our online audience, technical people, someone is complaining about the volume, the sound. I don't know whether we have fixed that the sound is not enough for them. Yes?
Thank you very much. I'm talking from the perspective of a data analyst and a person who has conducted farming, data analysis and research. When you look at data and where it's taken from, there's no data which is garbage. It depends on how you handle it. Because you'll find a farmer just jotting things down, just jotting them down. But it is upon you as a business counselor to always find ways of organizing it. Because mostly these farmers are not planned, and they will not determine that I have to organize data this way, have something visible for somebody who is going to lend to me money. So it's upon to you to ask and organize a template in your head to know exactly what you need. And in addition, I wanted to compliment about the issue, the point they noted there earlier, that is analysis and viability and other parameters. It is like it will be helping in more of research. Because if you're a farmer and you're dealing with cassava today, as you do data entries and stuff, you will be able to understand exactly which crops you need to grow in the later times. So I think it will be nice if at all you give it more time to understand exactly the data you have and compare it with others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The issue of using it as a basis for research, that is very, very important. You can do research from the records that you have. From online, Vokoni says it helps in decision making. Opira Solomon is saying the volume is too low. Once again, technical people, please work on that. Okay, to proceed. We can now look at the categories of farm records. We talked about the production records and the financial records. Examples that we can talk about under the production records, we have the farm size, the land size, the infrastructure, what type of crops are you growing on the farm, what are the equipments you're using, what crop yields, what seeds are you using, cost, quantity, capital outlay, and the efficiency of the machines that you are using. So all that information, even those issues that I've not mentioned, that are not necessarily money, but information generally about the operations of your farm. Then in the other category of financial, we know that when we are dealing with finances, we do purchase items, and we should have a purchase ledger. We shall be selling. We need a sales ledger. We can have a general ledger that has everything. Bank statements. People are dealing with the banks, and they can get bank statements from us, the financial institutions. I'm a new institution that is coming to appraise you, but you want to show me that last year I picked a loan of 5 million, and on this date, that statement should be there as a record for you. And with time you may even forget the loan you got, but with that record you will not. Sales and delivery agreements, price information. How have I priced my items this season? At what price were they last season? That is very important information. I think at this point you can now tell the difference between production records and financial records. Okay, to continue with, those examples were for the crop farmer, because you know how much land, what am I growing, what varieties am I growing, what seeds am I using, because this will help you in making decisions at the end. Am I getting enough yield? Am I getting less yield than what I would expect in an acre? Should I change the seeds? Should I change my suppliers? That is very important information. Then if we are to look at a livestock farmer, just like the crop farmer, location of a farm is key. What is the source of water that I'm using? Because we know that is very important for the animals. But what type of animals am I keeping on my farm? Are they cows? Are they goats? But you can even go ahead. How many of these are male? How many are female? How many are calves? So that it gives you that good information to plan, or if even someone else is coming to assist by looking at this record, they are already guided, they can already tell the size of your enterprise and how to support you. Then on the side of the financial records, same as the crop farmer, you will have a purchase ledger, a sales ledger, a general ledger. And to our farmers, when you say a sales ledger, now it's going into complicated things. But if you show them how to simply make it with date, with the items that you have sold, the amount, and then you're telling them this is a ledger. And you need to have the dates all the time so that you are informed as you're making these decisions. So that table, as we can see it on the screen, is giving the examples, but you can also think about many more records that should be there. For example, let me also hear from you. Under the production records, what would you include here that is not here? Let me check on and see. Oh, yeah, online has no comments, but they are saying thumbs up. The volume is clear now. So what other records from you, my physical audience? What other records would you consider that are not on that? And from experience of dealing with record is, you could ask them what, in your view, should be added on that list. Okay, to go back to our screen, how do we use these records then to make income and expenditure statements? How do we use these records? But record, how do we make the records? But how can I use it to make an income statement or an expenditure statement? And want to have the screen to show you exactly what I want you to see. So depending on the size and the complexity of the enterprise, the farmer will select the appropriate method for him to keep the records and make books of accounts. And those, as we have mentioned them, could be their records for the farm. The income ledger, we've mentioned it, you're recording income. It can be on a monthly basis, it can be on a weekly basis, but the farmer themselves can decide, depending on how busy their business is, an expenditure, expense ledger, a stock book, receipts, book for debtors. Do we have books for debtors in our businesses? Most people have books for creditors. Book for creditors. Kitabo kya mabanja. But you're expecting money from them. But there are those people that are expecting money from you. And it is important for you to always track your debts. To always track your debts so that you can be able to balance, to pay off the debts and move. Then records about the bank operations are very, very important. So for easy recording, we can have just 2 tips. Always record the debt of the cash stroke income expenses, as you may need to refer to it sometime later. So one key tip, the debt. In whatever you're doing, someone mentioned that there are no trash records, which is very true. They're not in their own way, but always encourage them to have the debt. And you know, the debt is like money. Everyone I meet knows how to count money. And also everyone knows the debt. Then secondly, you record information. You can do it initially in pencil. And later on, in case you've made errors, you can easily correct the errors. And so you may say, for me in the month, on a weekly basis, I record my things, my issues using pencil. And end of month, when I'm making fine, I go through, I correct any errors, then I can make it in ink, because in ink it will stay for a longer time. So, but the most important tip is the issue of debt, and also record information regularly. Do not wait. I will record at the end of the season. Believe you me, you will miss out some of the information. Record as much as you can. It is important to remember what was sold, the amount that you sold it, that is in case now you're making the income ledger, and the total amount in Uganda shillings. I think that is very easy to do. For instance, here on our free chat, we can put an example here. Today is 17th. Today is what? 17th September 2004. I may be a crop farmer as well as a livestock farmer. I may say maybe I've sold matoke, batches of matoke, maybe 5 of them, and maybe each I've sold it at maybe 20,000. So the total here will be 100. When you talk to farmers, every farmer knows. Yesterday I sold matoke, I sold 10 batches at so much. But now remember, in a week, you will sell matoke for like 3 times. After a month, it will be difficult for them to remember, you know, the 3 times. After a month, those will be how many times? 3 times, 12 times. It will be very difficult for you to say it offhand. And this same farmer may also be able to sell some milk Assuming they are doing both, and maybe they have sold milk, maybe 40 liters, we need to add a column here for quantity. Sorry, very sorry about that. We need to add that. And if each liter, how much is a liter of milk today? 2,000. So if I sell 40 liters at 2,000, how much will that be? That is 80. If it is 2,000 each liter, that will be 80,000. And so on and so forth. And at the end of the day here, my total will be 180. Is that too difficult for a farmer to do? There are other items that they do produce and they don't record. They may grow some eggplants, some vegetables, and they are getting money out of it. So you will come here and say, Nakati. Nakati, I don't know how they measure the Nakati. Maybe you have sold for 20,000. And here it is becoming what? So in doing this, you encourage them, whatever you sell. And there are many things. They may be having some chicken and they are selling eggs, included there. So that at the end of the period, you can be able to tell how much you have actually. And then when it comes to the expenses, it is the same procedure. You should follow. What have you bought? The item. The amount you bought it, and the total amount you spent. So down here, I have indicated farm expenditure sheet. It could be on this same day of 17th September 2004. What have you purchased? Maybe to sell that matoke, you're using your motorcycle and you're putting in fuel. Record that. And they leave out those expenses. And they are only looking at whoever cultivated in the garden and I paid them. Maybe they are the ones I need to record. So you're recording the fuel, maybe 20,000, you know. Then the milk, are you paying the milkman? So those expenses you should include here. To sell the nakati, we buy those seeds. Maybe you can sell nakati seeds. How much can we give them? To buy those seeds? 50,000. Maybe 5,000. Okay, it can be that. But we are also paying workers on the farm, and maybe say we paid 70,000. We are also, which other item can we think about? You're buying fertilizers. How much can we apportion to fertilizers?
100.
100. And at the end of the day, you do have the 100 here, 170, 195, 195 in expenses. That is just an example, not to say that the margin will always be that small. Some participants online, how do I know what the farm record for the farmer visited is accurate, especially during appraisal? You're not going to look at the record alone. Look at the record and also other aspects. I think that is what we normally do. Yeah. So I may make my records quickly tonight because I know in the morning you're coming to visit me. But I know that our appraisal questions are very comprehensive, that I will ask. You do not use only records to make a decision, but you also make use of other information. So to answer you, this one is in the year. Then we have areas. How should farmers who pick food from their gardens record them? Iggy beans, when fresh, and all that. How should farmers record this? What do you think? They use SACCOs. No, he's saying, in real life, when I'm a farmer and I've grown beans, at that point when they are ready, we know how we go and pick the fresh beans for home consumption. So the question is wondering, how should a farmer record that?
I think it's supposed to be, according to what I know, when you grow in the first thing is about sustainability, because all farmers start as sustainable farmers. So in what you do, you first record exactly what your family needs. Then the rest is supposed to be sold out, because you can't consume it as all. So I think that one should be recorded as a home consumption. And then you narrate in details that if I'm taking 2 kilograms of beans from the farm, from my sack, you record it, I've taken 2 kilograms. And those are recorded as no income from them. Then on expense, you just need to leave them, because it is you that has consumed them. And when it comes to recording how much you've spent, I think it will be viable if at all you add them as part of your expenditure, because you're expending on your family. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You want to add something? Please do.
To me, I think most of the subsistence farmers, as they grow, they normally first consume, so they sell off the subsistence surplus. So to me, I think they will have to report that is subsistence surplus after they have consumed the rest. That's all.
Okay, thank you. But also, if we encourage the farmers to think about, if you went on the market to buy beans at that time, how much would it cost? And that comes into your record. It will help you when you're determining the production, when you've catered for what you consumed. It is also good practice. And the labor, you know, on our farms, we pay all the other people that come, we never pay ourselves. So you need to consider how much am I paying my workers and the work I've done today. If I was to go and do it on someone else's farm, how much would they pay me? So you keep it in record. So sometimes it appears much cheaper because you're not factoring in your labor, paying yourself. That is a very good practice. And it makes you bring things in reality, how the picture should have been. So that is the farm income sheet. Important to note the date, the item sold, the amount you've sold it, and the total. We only considered one date today, but in a week, you could do something on 17th, you could do something on 18th. You know, if you're recording for a month, important note the date, the items, like that. And I know that farmers will tell you, for us, we don't know how to read, we don't know how to write. They have children, they have grandchildren. And this is simple information, which even a P4 child can do for you. So we can tell them, you know what, buy 2 books. One is for the expenses, one is for the income. Whenever you sell, tell your grandchild, tell your daughter, your son, to record this for you. So for us as officers, as loan officers, we know that this information will be important to us when we go, and he has such a record, much as he's not making very good meaning out of it, but for you know that if he's telling you, I used this to plant, I sold this, you can tell his experience in the garden, and you could comfortably advance a loan or advise accordingly. This is the expenditure as we've talked about it. So now, how do we support them? Make meaning out of this. We are talking about income from crops, which has been well recorded. You have some income from livestock that has been well recorded. In our case here, the milk is from the livestock, the matoke from the whatever, and whatever else may come, but you may choose to categorize them as so, because you really want to know on my farm which is more profitable. Is it the crop? Is it the animal? Then you get the total. In our case here, our total income was 200,000. So onto the 200,000, you less the expenses. In your ledger here, we already have 195. So the net cash in this case, how much would it be? So we had our income was 200,000, and we are saying this should be less the expense, which was 195, giving us what we call the net income of 5,000. Now, what happens then thereafter? For a farmer, they will now think, what can I do to make my net income grow big? And there are two things you can do to this. You either increase here, or you reduce the expense. Now the expense has so many items. The farmer will go into details. Of these, where do I spend more? Is it on the motorcycle, ferrying my produce to the market? Can I change that? Can I get buyers come to my garden? That is just an example. So with the record, is so much better off than one without a record, because they are looking at something to guide them make a decision. Then after that is done, basing on the performance of each crop, remember here was specific, we mentioned the nakati, we mentioned the coffee, one could mention the coffee, different items. So basing on the performance of each crop or livestock, a farmer should be able to see whether the farm is profitable or not, but without necessarily going through very complicated calculations. It is also easy to identify which crop type or livestock yield is worth maintaining, multiplying, or in the subsequent what? Periods. Should I continue with goats? Should I continue? What are people doing most in this central region in terms of livestock? Pigs. Should I continue with the pigs? I know farmers that did pigs for a long time, and you go to them today, they say, no, I left that because I was spending too much in the feeds. But you won't know that you're spending too much on feeds if you're not making records. You keep receipt buying and feeding, and for you to determine the price at which you're selling, you're just depending on market price. So and so sold is at so much, and you're just following up without necessarily adding up what you have invested in. So that way, it can help you make decisions. And I think the gist of this is here. Make records, they can help you make decisions. Even those that are doing cattle, zero grazing. They are buying grass. They are buying grass, they are planting grass, and it is an expense. And they are hiring people to look after the animals. Okay, so then to continue, the net worth statement. Now this is taking the farmer to another level that will make them very, very comfortable. How do I know the net worth of my farm? And we are saying the guidance here, you have period A when you started. And you want to check your net worth at a certain period B. How do I know my net worth? We know that even after 1 year, a lot of things change on the farm. And the net worth cannot be the same. It may be higher, it may go lower, I don't know. So we are saying you need to capture the assets and liabilities. What are assets? Please use that mic. Robert, do I have any comments from online?
To me, assets are those items that actually generates income at my farm.
Assets are items that generate income.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other views on assets on your farm? Let me check on my online audience. Any views on assets? Okay, there is no comment on assets. Okay. So, those items that you own on the farm, and we are giving examples of these. We are talking about land because it generates the income. We are talking about the machines that you may buy under your farm, the feeds, the supplies, the farm building, household equipment. We are talking about the debtors and other properties and your savings, all that which belongs to you. So we are saying at the beginning of the period, you're going to record this and make a total. Then we have another category that we call liabilities. How would you define liabilities to the customers? Liabilities, how would you define them to your customers? Yes?
To me, I would be defining liabilities as things that pulls money out of your pocket.
Things that pull money out of your pocket. That is really basic, and it can tickle a farmer. What pulls money out of my pocket?
For me, I think it will be, actually, I think it will be items in the business that always, that the business owes to external stakeholders.
That a business owes to external stakeholders. In other words, that which you have in the business, but it is not yours. You have it there, but it is not yours. And we are talking of examples here as loans, creditors, interest owed, total liabilities that you put down together. When we are running enterprises, many times we have these such resources. But the problem is, because we don't make time to record, we at some point forget and think that whatever we see in the business is our own. And if, as a farmer, you don't do this, you can never know what exactly your net worth is. So the net worth will be the total you have in assets minus what is not yours. You remain with what is your, the net worth. Now you want to compare what is my current net worth now. When I started, where was I? And at this particular period, you're doing the same thing. One may say, but it is the same. It is not the same, because you may have added new items, but also some items will appreciate. I may have started my farm with land that I bought at 5 million. But after all that I've done on the land, the neighborhood is developing, it has appreciated, you may find that my land has now gone up. And you're recording the assets as per now. You do the same to the liabilities. And the difference between the two figures becomes your net worth at the time. So that is simple and basic, and it is easy for you to explain to the farmer, and the farmer can also easily do it. I know there are other versions that are more complicated, which we don't want to confuse our farmers. Are we together? So a farmer has now been supported to know how to make the record. Caroline from online. Let me first talk to Caroline here. Do we also include domestic expenses like salt, health expenses, etc. from the farm expenditure? Does anyone want to answer, Caroline?
I think it is okay.
I would say no. That is not now expenditure on the farm. But after you have made income and expenses on the farm, you're now using the profits to take care of yourself, to pay for health, to buy home items, to pay school fees, and all that. But we cannot load it onto the farm.
I think she's meaning like medical bills for the workers. Actually, if you're offering that, then it's
if it is for the workers, yes, it can come under the cost of what? Of labor. But she's asking domestic expenses like salt, health, etc. No, this you should not now overload the farm. But if well guided and you have your record, you know your income, you know your expenditure, you know your net income. Now it is from the net income that you're going to decide how much should I put aside for health? How much will go to school fees? How much is my saving? So that a farmer now gets that business mind. And of course we know that in farming, you grow in seasons, you get yields, you make money. But for continuity, for sustainability, after you've made that margin, you need to first of all think of, what am I going to plow back? You put aside. It could be a saving that you want to accumulate over the months, and you know that this saving is what will help me plant for the next what? Season. Caroline, I hope we have responded to you. Now next week, oh, there was a hand.
Thank you. For me, I just have a question. So we talked about the liabilities, but I just want to know the difference between loans and creditors and the liabilities.
And the liabilities.
Yes, on the farm.
On the farm. Okay, thank you so much. I would say this. We have loans, like loans that people get from our institutions and from colleagues. But we have creditors, people that are giving us items in kind. People that have given us, you may have not picked a loan per se, but you have a supplier who has given you seeds and you have to pay them back. That one is a creditor. You have, those items, not necessarily a loan, but you owe people.
And this that for creditors,
Please speak in the mic for our online.
is it that for creditors it doesn't incur interests, or it is the other way around?
It depends on your arrangement. There are people I know that if someone is buying cash, I sell the item at this amount. But if someone is taking on credit, then I will put extra. For instance, I may be selling a kilo of beans at 4,000 if you come with cash. But if I'm giving you on credit, you will pay 4,500. So it depends on the arrangement. Yes. Okay, let us now go and talk about decision making. You've made your reports accurate. You're now able to tell your net income. You're able to tell your net worth. You can analyze, because you have the records, you can analyze item by item. How much did I spend? Did I invest into production of this coffee? Where did the expenses shoot? What can I do next? So the results of the income and expenses will inform the farmer to form a basis of making what? Decisions for the future. It will be developed from answers to the following questions. These are just answers that you give the questions, and the farmers will even add more questions. Just wondering which enterprise is profitable and therefore I should continue dealing in it. And indeed, if they make records, they will realize that there are certain items they have been doing for years, because also their forefathers did them, but actually they are not maybe bringing in profit. The decision may be based on that, but also one may choose to continue with it, that much as it is not making profit, maybe it is what we prefer to feed on at home. So that way it is okay, you're continuing with it, you're not making a lot of profit, but there is a way it is contributing to the family. Then which enterprise is performing poorly and therefore needs to be discontinued. Please tell people that it is fine to quit. It is okay to discontinue. And this is not happening only to farmers, even other people in business. Even after realizing they are making losses, but now how do people stop seeing me selling fish here? How do people stop seeing me producing a particular product? It is okay to quit for as long as the mindset has been tuned to business. Then also, which enterprise needs to be expanded? If you realize it is making profit, you've been giving it less attention, which one should I expand? So you're expanding, but this time from an informed point of view. Actually, farmers, including my own mother, when it is planting season, I'm here wondering whether I should put maize there, maybe more beans here. She doesn't know. She's a bit confused. I don't want to say confused. She's undecided, not confused. They are not confused. They have a lot of experience. Yeah. So, but it informs you. When I grow beans in an acre, what kind of yield will I get? If in the same acre I put maize, what kind of profit margin will I get? One says, I would rather buy the portion, let me use my land for this, such decisions will be reached at. Which component of expenses need to be reduced? The expense bit. You may be taking matoke to the market, and every day you take 2. So you realize you're spending a lot in fuel. You may say, let me now make my arrangement. I take my matoke once to the market, and I carry maybe 6, 8 batches in one go, using the same amount of fuel. So they make such decisions on how to reduce the costs. How should the profit, now this is very important, how should the profit made be invested? Because you know how much you have made, you can make decisions, how should I invest this? But farmers say, we would have done all those things. We just do, but we don't make any what? Any profit. But in reality, they are making profits, maybe they are not, but without a record, they cannot tell what the future should be. What new equipment do I need? What is the level of technology that is required? Do I need to add in some of the technology basing on what they are doing? If my yield was this when I used this, maybe if I improve a bit of technology, I can produce more. And also when they record, they will know exactly last season I was able to earn so much from this item. And naturally, a human being will always want to earn more. What can I do in order for me to earn more? But without a record, you will not be motivated to even work harder. So that is briefly the farm record keeping. We are looking at how do I make my farmers appreciate that making records is good. That is one. But also, how do I support them to learn to make the records? And to make the records relatively accurate and meaningful. Okay? Then after they have made the records, how do I support them to know how to make a financial statement? To know how to generate information that shows that they are making either profits or losses. And after that, how do I use these records to make meaningful decisions? Ladies and gentlemen, it is us who will change the situation or the status quo by providing this information. Let me look at my online audience. This is a resource that provides a future benefit. That one was describing an asset. For example, land and fittings, liabilities and properties that require expense. Yes, I think they stopped at that. So that is it. How do we feel about this information? Is it information we can give to farmers? They already have information. They already have a lot of information. And by the way, even when we go to these farmers, they already know that we know so little, they know so much. But for you, it is not that you know so much, so you're going to tell them, but you're supporting them to organize that which they already know. And when you get their views, you will get items, examples that you've never thought about. They will come in here. Please embrace those views, because adults learn better if the learning is coming from them. You have a comment?
I was reviewing, basically recently I was doing some research about farmers and identified that the bigger percentage, basically in urban areas, are sustainable farmers. So they grow crops basically for home consumption. And as Africa and specifically Uganda, we depend on farming as our key income and our key surplus to generate income. How does a trainer like me turn that sustainable farmer to a commercial farmer? Because it's becoming something big. For when you find that they always get a lot of information in excess. So we have farmers that have made podcasts and videos describing how big their farms are, and when they look at them, they will be like, these are too big, I can't afford. So how do I advise that farmer who's doing sustainable, like rearing chicken at home, rearing ducks, rearing say goats, at home, or pigs in few quantities? How do I advise that person to join the league of commercial farmers?
Thank you, Mr. Kizito. The baby steps are beginning from here. Baby steps, small steps. Let them start by what we are talking about, the records. Because it is this that will guide him, how do I expand? But also farmers should know that you will not just wake up tomorrow and you are as big as the other. You need a lot of detail, a lot of preparation. I know those that really want to do big, but maybe they are limited by land, and they can do step by step, take records, make some margins. It even guides them on, when I take a loan, where do I want to invest the loan? Am I buying a piece of land? You know, what we mentioned, to consider and take farming as a business, not a way of life. If I'm doing chicken and at any one time I have 10 for home consumption, can I move to 20 so that the extra 10 is for sale while I consume? So you start testing the waters with 1 foot, then slowly you will put in the second foot. Then very important also to visit other people that are doing what you want to do, to visit those farms. But you need to look at it as a business and not as the way of life. And indeed, many farmers consider farming to be a way of life, but when you analyze their incomes and what they are using to pay school fees, it is from farming. But they are not organized enough to systematically have records. So it is now upon us to show them that yes, through farming you can earn. I want to give an example of where people invite you and they say, we want this training in resource mobilization. We don't know how to mobilize resources. The first step is always for us to analyze the current resources. Where did you get them? And they will realize that they are actually very good at resource mobilization, though at that time when it comes, you feel there is another sophisticated way of doing it. And then they can do it. I'm checking on our online people. There isn't much online. Just briefly, we are ending there, the farm record keeping. I just want to take you briefly to our online training platform, where you can be picking a lot of this information even on your own, so that you learn different things and be able to participate. I want to go to yeah, just a moment, then I'll go. Oh, duplicate. Okay, just wanted to show us, we have the online platform, that is our website, the AMFIU website. So when you visit our website, it is www.amfiu.org.ug. You will right away find the online training. So when you go to the online training, we have a number of courses that we are building there, and you could visit them and check which one you want to do. You can go to all courses, and when you go to all courses, they will display the various courses. We have a course on sustainability and risk management, crop selection, farm investments, and so many. We are still working on it and building it. This which we have been doing today in farm record keeping can be found right down here. The farm record keeping. When you visit this module, you know, for me it is easy because I'm already registered, but for you who is a newcomer, to request you to log in. And to log in, they will need your username and password, and then you click start, then you go there. So when you go there, you can, for each of the modules, you can read about it, some introduction for you to make a decision on whether you want to do it. So for the farm record keeping, that is the literature there, we've gone through it. And for me, as someone who already registered, I can click continue. But for you, they will require you to log in. And if you can remember your password and username, you can keep visiting the website to do different self-learning. And after each, you will get a quiz. There are quizzes, a few questions you have to respond to, and there are also videos. You may not want to read a lot, but you may want to listen. You can play the video and listen in. So that is what I wanted to show us. I want to thank you so much, our online participants. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for the active participation. And also to our physical participants, we want to thank you for having made this lively. Thank you very much.
Maybe to ask, is it open to all subscribers, or it's basically from somewhere?
It is open. It is open, but we know that a farmer will not go to the website to read. But we know that for you, the credit officer, the staff from a financial institution, you will be able to go there, pick information, and take this information. There are many modules, even crop selection. How do I make a decision on what crop to take? There is that module, but for today we did not talk about it. How do I analyze risk on my farm? How do I, all that? So I beg that we end here. Thank you very much, but I'm still here. You can ask me any other questions.
So, I go ahead. I have a question, madam.
A question?
Yes.
Okay.
So, you have actually so much talked about the advantages of farm records. But what could be the disadvantage of maintaining farm records?
The disadvantage of maintaining farm records.
Yes.
I want to get it from you, my audience, because for me, I do not see many disadvantages. Maybe time consuming. It may take your time to record. That would be the disadvantage, and we need to encourage people not to take time away from work, that I'm making records for a whole day. The enterprises are small, but encourage them to make this, maybe at close of day, make a record, so that by end week, by end month, you have
record. That may be the disadvantage. Maybe another one, the literacy levels, that challenge will come. For those, they can keep records because they are learned, personal. But you also have to now think about a solution, support them. You have a granddaughter and you have a son, you have your connection who can help you make the record. And that question will come so many times. Even those that can write, they will still hide in that court of not being able to write. Thank you.
Peter, already started. Already started.